Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a figure you probably think you know inside out, George Washington, first U.S. president.
Right.
But our mission today isn't just the usual history lesson. We're digging for those, genuinely surprising facts, the aha moments that really change how you see him.
And that's so important because understanding someone like Washington, well, it's key to grasping the nation's roots. So many of his actions, his decisions, they still resonate today in American government, in the culture. It's much more than just trivia.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics, but throw in some twists right away. We all know he was the first president. Took office, 1789?
1789, that's right.
Yeah.
Served 2 terms until 1797.
Okay, but here's the kicker. Unanimously elected. Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
He's still the only U.S. president to get 100% of the electoral votes. I mean, can you even imagine that today? That kind of unity?
It's almost unthinkable now, isn't it? That level of unanimous trust, it really makes you wonder, what does that say about the ideals of leadership back then?
Yeah.
Especially when you pair it with his own reluctance to even take the job.
That's a great point. His reluctance, yeah. People often forget that he actually tried to retire after the Revolutionary War.
He did. He wanted to go back to Mount Vernon.
But the country kind of called him back. And speaking of common images we have, the White House. Everyone pictures presidents there.
Yeah.
But Washington...
Nope. Never lived there as president. That's a very common misconception. The Capitol was first in New York City, then it moved to Philadelphia during his time.
Right.
The White House itself, well, it wasn't finished until 1800. So John Adams was the first president to live there, not Washington.
So no Oval Office chats for George in D.C. Okay, let's peel back another layer. Let's talk about the man himself, some personal stuff, and maybe bust a few myths. The big one, wooden teeth. True or false?
Oh, definitely false. That one just won't die, will it?
Uh-huh. Seems like it.
But no, his dentures were actually kind of gruesome. Made from hippopotamus, ivory, gold, lead, even human teeth.
Wow. Human teeth.
Yeah, but definitely no wood. And he needed them pretty badly. He started losing his teeth really young, in his 20s.
In his 20s. That's rough.
By the time he became president, he apparently only had one single natural tooth left.
Oof. Okay, so maybe not the charming smile we imagine, but he was known for being quite sharp in his appearance, right? Fashion conscious.
He was, actually. Very meticulous. For his inauguration, he didn't wear a suit like modern presidents. He wore his military uniform.
Ah, interesting.
And, yeah, he was apparently quite into, tailored coats and keeping up that powdered hair look. He understood appearances.
And another quirky detail, the Bible he used for his oath of office. It wasn't like some special designated Bible.
Not at all. It was pure improvisation, really.
Yeah.
They couldn't find the official one they were supposed to use, apparently.
Seriously, on Inauguration Day.
Yeah, so they scrambled and literally borrowed one from a nearby Masonic lodge, St. John's Lodge. Just grabbed the closest one.
That's amazing.
And what's really cool is that specific Bible, the borrowed one, has been used for several inaugurations since then. It sort of accidentally became a tradition.
Huh.
And these details, the teeth, the oath, they really humanize him, don't they? They show the reality, the sometimes unscripted practical side of, building a nation from scratch. These precedents weren't always planned. Sometimes they just happened.
Yeah, it really does. It paints a picture of them figuring things out as they went along. Okay, let's shift to how he actively shaped the nation, setting precedents. Big democratic principles. The first cabinet, for instance.
Right. He established that, choosing his own advisors, handpicked them.
And some big names there, too. Jefferson as Secretary of State, Hamilton at Treasury.
Absolutely. He brought in major figures, even ones who famously disagreed on a lot. He understood the need for diverse counsel. That was pretty foundational.
And then there's his farewell address in '96, still talked about today.
Very much so. His warnings about political factions, E-Day parties, and getting tangled in foreign alliances.
Yeah. Feels pretty relevant still, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Whether we've always listened is another question, but the foresight, it's remarkable.
But maybe the biggest precedent, the most defining choice, refusing to be king.
Oh, absolutely fundamental.
Yeah.
It sounds wild to us now, but after the war, there were genuinely people pushing for him to become a monarch.
Really? Like seriously suggesting it?
Yes. Some officers in the army, others who thought it was the only way to keep stability. And Washington firmly shut it down. flat out refused.
Ah.
That single act, that refusal of ultimate power, it really cemented the whole idea of American democracy. Power with the people, not one ruler.
And tied to that, him stepping down after 2 terms, that wasn't a law then, right?
Not at all. No term limits in the Constitution back then. He just chose to walk away. He set the precedent for the peaceful transfer of power.
Which is huge.
Absolutely critical. Think about it. In a world full of kings and emperors, the leader of this new nation voluntarily gives up power. It sent a massive signal about what a republic meant. His foresight, his restraint, it's arguably still a cornerstone of American stability today.
Yeah.
How much of that was just him? It's a great question.
Okay, now for some maybe more unexpected, kind of fun facts. Things that show a different side of Washington. He was a big horse guy, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. A renowned horseman, really skilled. Apparently, he often rode without a saddle.
No kidding.
Yeah, and he had favorite horses, of course. 2 of the most famous were named Blueskin and Nelson. Nelson was supposedly his preferred horse during the war, known for being calm under fire.
Blueskin and Nelson, got it. Gives you a bit more of a picture of him. Now, what about after the presidency? Did he just relax at Mount Vernon?
Well, yes and no. He went back to Mount Vernon, but he didn't exactly put his feet up. He actually started a pretty major business venture.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Whiskey distilling. He ended up running one of the largest whiskey distilleries in the entire country.
Get out! George Washington, whiskey baron?
Seriously, right there at Mount Vernon. Producing something like over 11,000 gallons a year by the time he died. It shows that practical entrepreneurial side again.
That is genuinely surprising. Okay, and going back to the start of his presidency, the salary, he didn't want to take one.
That's right. Initially, he refused payment for being president, felt it was his civic duty.
But Congress made him take it.
Yeah, Congress insisted. They set it at $25,000 a year, which was a huge amount of money back then. A fortune.
It's 25 grand.
Wow. But his initial refusal, again, it kind of reinforces that idea of him being a reluctant leader, not in it for personal gain.
Okay, and here's one that tops up sometimes. Washington grew marijuana. What's the deal there?
Okay, context is key here.
Yeah.
Yes, he grew hemp, but it's crucial to understand this was purely for industrial purposes.
Right, like for rope, fabric.
Exactly. Hemp was a standard, very valuable agricultural crop back then, used for rope, sails, cloth, paper. It had nothing to do with recreational use as we think of it today. It just shows him as a practical farmer of his time.
Gotcha. Good clarification. And finally, something straight out of Hollywood. Washington the Spy Master.
Oh, absolutely. He was deeply involved in espionage during the Revolutionary War. He understood the critical importance of intelligence.
So it wasn't just battlefield tactics.
Not at all. He oversaw one of the most effective spy rings of the war, the Culper Ring. They used all the classic techniques: invisible ink, coded messages, aliases, dead drops.
Like in the movies?
Pretty much. It was incredibly sophisticated for the time and gave him a major advantage. It shows another facet, right? Not just the general, not just the president, but a master strategist willing to use unconventional means.
So if you pull all these things together, the horses, the whiskey, refusing a salary, the spy stuff.
Exactly. It paints a picture of a really multifaceted person, way beyond just the stoic guy on the dollar bill. He was a farmer, a businessman, a strategist, adaptable, committed in all sorts of ways.
So taking all this in, what does it really mean for you listening? Why should these, sometimes quirky facts matter today?
Well, because Washington was more than just a name, more than a monument. He was a complex, real person who faced incredible challenges and made choices through action, but also through restraint, through wisdom that literally shaped America's identity. Knowing these details, even the trivia, gives you a much deeper feel for the country's origins and for the very human person at the center of it.
Right. It makes the history feel more alive. Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with. Beyond all these facts we've dug up, what essential qualities, what kind of character do you think George Washington must have possessed? What allowed him to lead this brand new nation in such a unique and critical moment, setting a standard that arguably still influences the presidency today?